Hey everyone, it's Chris here, and this is a quick demo and tutorial on how to use this SaaS pricing calculator that you do see on my screen. So before we're going to dive into the tutorial, let me show you exactly how this works and what kind of features it does have. So the most important one, of course, is the calculator feature, which allows people and your customers to see what's going to be the total cost based on the number of units. And these units can be anything your package or your product is based on. This can be licenses, this can be the number of contacts in case you're a CRM, but this can also be the number of users. So every single time the user will play around with this slider at the top, you can see that we're making some calculations here. You can see how every single price here for all of these all of these two packages, they do update because only the Pro and Premium has pricing. Yeah, and we also have at the very bottom, we have this input, right, where people can actually type it here. So if you need someone to use the input instead of range, we obviously build this option too, but at the same time, you can use both of them. You can use this input along with this slider at the top and allowing people to use both of them. So that is the most important part, the ability to calculate your paid packages. Now, the second thing, of course, is it does work with the monthly, with the early, or basically any type of billing cycle you have. Can be, again, monthly, can be early, can be, let's say, twice per month or twice per year, wherever you want. And of course, you can also apply discounts here. I'm going to talk about this monthly and early tab in a second when we're going to jump inside a Webflow. But just to finish up the couple of features that we have here, another one is the ability to disable a specific plan if it hits the limit. So you can see that after 5 users, our pro plan right here becomes unavailable. So if we continue to move forward, you're going to see that the premium will also become unavailable and people won't be able to click on this try for free. So that is another nice feature that it does have. And finally, of course, we are also displaying the units that the user is inserting right here. So if I would type 29, you can see it says 29. But at the same time, the code also listens to what is the maximum value. And if I would type right here 50, 52, you can see that it's saying 50 plus. And the reason why this is working is both this input right here and this range do have a minimum and the maximum value. And when someone hits the maximum value, it will display the maximum value along with the plus sign, indicating that wherever that plus number is above the limit. So now let's dive into this quick Notion page I made for you guys so you understand not only how the code works, but what kind of custom attribute it relies on. So step number 1, of course, is to add this custom script inside your body closing tag on the page level. So the way you're going to do this is you just copy this one out. Yeah. You copy this entire script and you paste it inside a Webflow. The only note I do have right here is make sure you do minify this code. And the way you do minify is you copy this entire code. You only copy what's inside the script tag. Then you go back to this magic tool by top tile and you paste this code right here. Once you paste the input JavaScript, you click on minify and you're gonna get the minified version. Now, the reason why we're doing so is Webflow does not automatically minify any custom code you add. So it's important that this code is minified and it does not bloat your page speed. All right, so now let's go back and actually talk about this custom attributes. Now this code, again, it's quite smart. It does not rely on JavaScript, so you don't need to know JavaScript, just only to have the script inserted, right? But the entire code relies just on custom attributes, which is really easy, especially if you're an agency and you're building like a website for a SaaS company and you want the client to not touch any custom related stuff. So being said, it does come with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 custom attributes. You'll have to remember each of them and what they do. And finally, also comes with a global class, which is called isDisabled. I'm going to show you every single attribute where you can find it and how to use it, as well as how to use this isDisabled global class. So let's actually start from the very top, which is range number. Now, range number, this attribute does not need any value. right? All it needs the name. And what it does is it basically defines the span where the value of both the range or the input will be pasted. So let me go back to the Webflow and show exactly where to find it. So if you click on this number here, or if you click on this number here, it really doesn't matter, you're gonna see a custom attribute called range number. So this is basically where we add our very first attribute, and you can see it only has a name, it does not have any value. So that is the very first attribute, and this is really up to you. You can maintain the structure we've created for you, or you can come up with your very own structure. All the code needs is just a span that do have this custom attribute to which the total number of this input and this range will be pasted. So I hope this does make sense. Now, if we go back to this notion and looking at the very second custom attribute, we have range slider and the range input. The range slider attribute defines the range slider, and the range input, obviously the numbered input. So if we go back to the Webflow, you can see that we have an unstyled range right here, and if we're looking at the attributes, we can see range slider equal yes. Now again, range slider or range attribute, they don't need any value, so you can just basically remove the value from here. All the code needs is just the name to be present. So that is for the slider. We have the range slider attribute, and then if we go at the very bottom, we have this input and we have range input. So yeah, you can basically use both of these inputs, the range and this one at the bottom, on the same page. The code will still work, and both of them are custom elements, the new feature that Webflow released, and this allows for more modularity and more control. You can see that we can basically build our very own attributes here and bypass some of the Webflow limitations. Because, for example, Webflow does not allow you to use value right here, or does not allow you to, for some type of inputs, does not allow you to put min or max, or maybe even like change the type of this input to being a range instead of being like a plain text input. So I hope this does make sense. But they're unstyled, which means that you can go right here, you can go to this input, you can hit on plus, type class, and then for the value you can type wherever class you've created inside your Webflow project. So that is for the range slider and the range input. And if we go back, the very next one is the plan card. So what the plan card does is it basically defines the box of every single plan. So let me make myself smaller here, move right here, and you can see from my navigator on the left, we do have a box for every single plan. It's named plan card, and if we select the plan card div block, then you can see that under the custom attributes we have plan card attribute added. So what this attribute will do is every single time the user hits the limitation, that specific card will become unavailable. So we're basically adding that is disabled combo class to this plan card, which I'm going to talk in a moment. But just to go back to the demo and show exactly what I'm talking about, you can see that every single time some specific plan becomes unavailable, we add this nice opacity, and we're also disallowing people from accidentally clicking on these buttons and getting started. So that is basically what the plan card does. It defines the div block that holds your plan. Now let's go back and see the very next one. So we have price per unit and plan limit. So what the price per unit do is you just type the value of whatever price is for a specific unit. And again, a unit can be the number of licenses, it can be the number of users, it can even be the number of contacts if you are a CRM. So if we go back to the Webflow, let me show exactly where we add this. So the plan limit and price per unit, we add them in a nice span text block. So this one right here, and also this one right here. And you can see that both of these, if we go to the custom attributes, they have price per unit and they have plan limit. So price per unit, again, it's the price per unit, and the value you set here should be numbers only, so avoid using any special characters like $signs or anything in between, and you just type what is the price per unit, per one single unit, right? Again, if that's a user, what's the price per user? Same applies right here for the Pro plan. You can see it does also share price per unit attribute set to $20. This $20 is also set here, and we also have plan limit set to 5. So what the plan limit does is every single time someone hits the limit, whether using the range or using this input at the bottom, that specific plan card will become unavailable. And just to show you how this works, if we're looking over the Pro plan, you can see that the value is set to 5, right? So if we go back to the pricing calculator and we go with 5, you can see that it's still available, but as soon as I do have 6, it becomes unavailable. If we are looking over the premium, same story here. You can see that for the premium, we have a plan limit of 10. So if we move to 10 plus, boom, the premium will become unavailable. Now, if you do remember, I've been telling you guys that we have this feature with 50 plus, where we basically add the plus sign when the user goes above the maximum limit. So if we go back to the Webflow, the way this works is both the range input and the text input at the bottom, they have a min and they have a max value. So wherever you type in the max value, that will basically be used to add the plus sign. So you can see that for this range, the max value is set to 50, and I cannot go above 50 because that's the kind of the max value. But if we go back and we are selecting our input, you can see that the max value is set to 50 also. But this time, since this is like a text input, I can type 51 and it will say 50 plus. So basically this 50 comes from the max value that we set for our input as an attribute called the max, and the value you just type wherever max value is, ultimately being displayed right here along with the plus sign. So I hope this does make sense. Now let me go back and see what else we have here. Finally, of course, we have this is disabled global class, right? So this is a global class, doesn't need any value, it's not an attribute. And what this class does is just add some specific styling. Like if we go back to this demo, you can see that, let me actually reset all of these. You can see that as soon as we hit the cap, we add a nice opacity, and we also make the plan unavailable. And just to show you where we actually have this is disabled class, if you open up the page list inside of Webflow, you're going to see styles. And while you can't select this is disabled on the canvas because we do have pointer events set to none, you can do so from the navigator. So if you open up the navigator, if you open up the section, then you open up the container, and finally you open up the card, you're going to see is disabled, right? And basically what this does, if I go to style, you can see that number one, we have events set to none, which means that people won't be able to click or select elements inside these boxes. Number two is we're adding a nice 3D effect. So we're killing the shadow and we're doing a transform where we have a nice 3D effect when it's disabled. And then finally, of course, we add 30% opacity. And the reason why we have this nice transition in between, so you can see now the premium is enabled, now it's disabled. The reason why we have this nice transition is because the plan card, so this class that we have applied, does have transition set to all and with 0.2 seconds. So basically, any change in the styling between the plan card and this is disabled global class will be done with a transition of 0.2 seconds with the easing property. So I hope this does make sense. Good. So basically that's it. Finally, of course, I want to talk about the monthly, early, and some additional keys you need to remember. So let's start with these tabs at the top. Now, both the monthly and early works, and you can add as many billing cycles as you need. Just keep in mind that for early, you need to make your math on your own. So you need to calculate what's going to be the price per unit for 12 months. The code does not do this for you because we wanted to allow you to also include any discounts. So let me tell you exactly what I mean by that. So if we're looking over the Pro plan, you can see that the Pro plan is like $20 per user. So if we pull the calculator here, yeah, we can do 20 multiplied by 12 months. That would be 240. So we switch to the year, you can see that it's higher, right? So we'll have to switch back. It's higher. And the reason how this is calculated, if we go back to 1, you can see it's 240. So this is something that you'll have to do on your own. You'll have to open up the calculator on your iMac or on your Windows, and you'll have to do the monthly plan, multiply by 12 months, and that will give you the annual price per unit. But the reason why we wanted to keep this scalable is we wanted to allow you the ability to also have discounts. So let's say you want to do a 20% discount. So you can discount 20% from 240 and just type the number there and make a small discount for people that want to select the early commitment. And if we go back to the Webflow, we go to the calculator here and we select our early tab inside the Webflow and we click on the Pro plan, you can see that now the price per unit is 240. So basically you'll just have to do the calculation on your own by simply multiplying the price per user, which you have on a monthly basis, with the number of months, which is 12, and that is the early commitment here. And of course you can fully change this. You can come and do your very own pricing. Really doesn't matter. The code will still execute and will update these numbers. We don't want it to make the code pulling the number from this text span, because maybe you're gonna reformat this text span and all of that. So we just wanted this to be a normal text span that you can style without worrying that, oh, I need to follow specific guidelines. So there's no guidelines here for you to follow. So let me move back to the monthly. And then the final thing I want to talk about is a couple of validations here. So mainly we have validations for this input. The very first validation is if someone do backspace and completely empty out this field, everything will reset. And just to prove this to you, let me quickly refresh the clone. So if I do remove any letter, let's say I put 20 here, put the number 20. And if I do remove 20 from here, it will reset back to the default properties, okay? So that's the very first validation. And the second validation is that it will not allow me to type characters here like letters or specific characters like $signs or commas or anything in between. It will only allow me to type numbers, which obviously it's a really good validation because you don't want someone to type out any special characters or emojis or any of that thing. All of these, it's a Webflow form, which means that someone can submit this. You can get the number of licenses they added. So maybe you have a developer team, and what they can do is they can add an additional attribute. So every single time someone clicks on try for free, every single time they're being redirected to the sign up, you can pass the value to an URL parameter, so you can know exactly for which plan they selected and what's the count, what's the unit they also specified in these ranges. So being said, that is all. I know it's been 18 minutes, but I really wanted to have a comprehensive tutorial for all of these. And keep in mind, like if you're gonna have any ideas or any add-ons to this calculator, please let me know. And if any questions, you can find our email at the very bottom of this Notion page, which will be linked to the Webflow clonable page. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.